what an exciting time for Scotland fans. Do you think you're going to do well this time around? Again, let us know. You can call us, like I say, on 03717 223344. You can also text us to 81089. But wow, what an achievement.
Just a brilliant achievement. Congratulations to Steve Clarke. Steve was a former teammate of mine at Chelsea many years ago. And he's got this nice, quiet, sort of understated manner, Steve. He was that sort of guy. He was always very much part of the dressing room and part of the crack that was going on in the dressing room. But he always, since he moved into management, I think, has always tried to keep things on an even keel. Mm-hmm. He don't go overboard when his team are playing that great. And again, he doesn't seem to be turning cartwheels when it's not going so well. He's just got a nice manner about him, Steve, and his team reflect that. His team, I think, again, have shown that they can have periods in matches, that they can weather storms, that they can come through it, they can come out the other side of it. And you know what? They're not the greatest group of players Scotland have ever had, far from it. But they are a good little team. They are a team. They are, when they put the shirt on, it inspires them as a group. It elevates them a little bit, lifts them, and they're able to produce really good performances.
You know, you're right to say that, because look at Scott McTominay. I know, okay, his chances at Manchester United are limited, but every time he puts that Scotland shirt on, I mean, he's scoring goals for fun in that Scotland team.
And even that one the other night that got chalked off. Wow, what a strike that was from him.
I know.
But they've just got, and again, it's amazing in sport, when you got a bit of momentum, when you feel like you have something in that dressing room, it's amazing how infectious that is. And now it's not, it goes very quickly. It can go, it can disappear, and you wonder where that feeling has sort of gone, why we were so good a couple of months ago and now we can't seem to buy a goal from anywhere. But at the moment, the Scots are a very handy team. They're a very, very useful side. They're not going to be easy for anyone to play against at the Euros, I'm sure, and they should be enjoying the moment, and I'm sure the fans will, of course they will, they'll be massively revved up and desperate to get out there and take part.
Oh, absolutely. That result for Spain has taken them to the top of Group A. It means that Spain have now also qualified for the Euros. As I say, all resulting in that 1-0 defeat of Norway. But wow, what an evening it turned out for Scotland, who lost their first game in qualifying, like you mentioned, in that Spain defeat last week. But it had been a wonderful, wonderful start to qualifying for them. Now they've got 2 games that they can simply enjoy, with Georgia and Norway, of course, to come. But yeah, it's been absolutely fabulous. So Scotland fans, please do get in touch this morning. We'd love to hear from you. And of course, I was reading, the defeat for Norway means it's yet another major tournament that they're going to miss out on, which means Erling Haaland, Martin Odegaard have yet to taste that kind of major
amazing,
tournament.
isn't it? Yeah, and they're two brilliant young players, and we'd all like to see them on the European stage, the world stage. But at the moment, it's not going to happen. It just goes to show that you don't, when you come up against teams that have got these incredible players in there, Nat, that's never quite enough. You can have the best player, you really can have the best player on the planet in your team, but if everything else around him isn't that great, if the way that they're going about it isn't necessarily the best way, then it's not going to be enough. And a really resolute and determined Scottish team have shown that that with a lot of heart and no short amount of skill and quality, but a good togetherness, a real great team ethic, a belief in what they're doing together, that will always overcome any one or two individuals.
So, Andy, delight for Scotland.
Yep.
Despair for the Republic of Ireland.
Well, we have, unfortunately now officially hit the bottom of the barrel with that performance against Greece, because and look, and I've said before that I don't fault Stephen Kenny's ideas and his and the way that he's thinking and in trying to improve things and trying to find other ways for this team to go about its qualification, but part of your job as a coach, you have to win matches, and part of your job as a coach as well is that if things aren't happening, if it's not quite working, then you've got to be flexible and you've got to see that and you've got to recognise that. It's
really interesting you say that. Let's hear from a former Republic of Ireland teammate of yours, my old mucker at the weekends, Tony Cascarino. This is what he had to say on what he thinks is an issue for Ireland.
This period has probably been as bad as going back to the early 80s. It's been dreadful and we're going nowhere. And I mean that. I mean, the big hope is Evan Ferguson. Evan's not going to do well with a Republic of Ireland team. Stevens Kenny, and this is where I have to be really careful, because I've said this before, but I have to be really careful because I've never been a manager, and I always feel like I owe managers an explanation. I try and see what they're trying to do, try and give them the benefit of the doubt. But the idea's been flawed from day one. And I said this, you can't ask players with technical ability that's a lower level, because most of them play for teams in not the top clubs of the Premier League, to go and compete against international teams who have technical players that are way better than yours.
I should just explain what he meant by Edwin Ferguson not going anywhere. It's not because he doesn't think he's a good player. No. Obviously he does. He just means within the setup right now of Ireland. And as you touched on, we touched on it as well, about there is a way that Kenny wants Ireland to play. We understand that. But sometimes, like you say, you do have to mix things up a little bit. And when you've got the height of Evan Ferguson, when you've got someone like a Shane Duffy in the team, sometimes you've just got to lump it up. It's for set pieces I'm talking about. Just to try and get something out of the game if you can.
There's this perception that all of a sudden, if you roll it around at the back 3 or 4 times, knock it into midfield, get it back, go wide again to the fullback, go back to the goalkeeper, go, all of a sudden that this is brilliant football and this is the way to go.
Possession, isn't it?
Well, you know what? It can be very effective and it can be very good to watch. It can also be misleading, and because part of Stephen Kenny's remit isn't just to try and create a team that actually, well, look, they keep the ball here and they keep the ball there and we can pass it here and it's about, you've got to win games, they've got to qualify, you've got to keep the country enthused and excited about what is going on. The other night against Greece, it was half empty, the ground, and everyone was emptying out way before the end. And unfortunately, as I said, part of your job as a coach is to try and win matches. Of course, he's trying to win matches. If it's not working, you have to come up and find other ways to try and combat that. And we are too easy to play against, give away too many bad goals, can't score enough goals, and are easy to play through. Now, if that's what you are, then I'm afraid you've got serious problems. I think Stephen should step away. I think the FAI should take the job off him and give it to someone else.
Really?
I do, yeah, because
But can they afford that?
No,
got their issues,
financially,
they?
financially they probably can't afford it. But then, look, sometimes I'm afraid you still have to be prepared to make tough decisions. And right now, the team is going absolutely nowhere. Not looking like it's going anywhere at all to give anyone any genuine belief that I can see what's going on here and it's going to turn. Cass is right what he said. If you haven't got players that are as good and you're trying to do to them what the best are doing to you, then I'm afraid you got no chance whatsoever.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, it's been a tricky spell for Republic of Ireland. They cannot qualify for the Euros as a result of that. It was a slim chance anyway had they beaten Greece. But
it was a tough group from the off,
yes.
France and Holland.
And the Netherlands, absolutely, yeah, very difficult. But I know social media is not a huge barometer that we should gauge things on, but I've seen the responses from a lot of Ireland fans saying it's time for Kenny to go. Nothing has been decided as of yet from what we know, but something to keep a track of, certainly.
talkSPORT Breakfast, waking you up Monday to Friday morning from 6 a.m. on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.